we don't normally talk anything other than Niners on this show, but we figure the Warriors are a local team. They're in game 6 of the finals. Everyone's watching that series. I'm sure everyone watching has an opinion and would like to talk about it. So let's talk about it for 20 minutes.
You know, I'm watching too. And I got to tell you, I've lost a lot of interest in sports, except for the Niners, because you're doing the Niners. So I didn't watch one regular season game of the Warriors. But as the playoffs went on, I was watching more and more and more. And I'm totally into these finals. Again, I do not root, but I'm fascinated by the drama. So the question is, what impresses you about the Warriors team? Winners. They've 3-time champion on the verge, perhaps, of being 4-time champions. Everything you want from a team. Unselfish, no prima donna. No prima donna.
They used to have one.
I'm sorry?
They used to have one.
They used to have one. He's in Brooklyn now.
Yeah.
He was a prima donna.
He's gone.
KD.
K-Diva.
I thought he was a prima donna.
Oh.
And they don't need him.
Nope.
And their superstar, Stephen Curry, is not a prima donna. And I want to tell our viewers, when you would cover a Warriors practice, he was the most approachable. Yeah. I mean, imagine him compared to LeBron James. LeBron James, I'm sure you got to have like, you have to be.
It's like interviewing the president.
It's like, right, exactly. It's like
interviewing the president, yes.
Yeah. Whereas Stephen, you'd say to Raymond, their PR guy, who's the most wonderful guy, Raymond Ritter, could we get Steph, in a group interview? Yeah. Steph, he would sit in this large, this sort of like, the stool, the large chair, and you talk to him as long as you wanted. And then if you wanted him a little after, he would talk a little after. Yeah. He is the most normal, lovely superstar Chris Mullin.
Yeah.
He's a mensch and a half, right?
Yeah.
Chris Mullin is a mensch and a half, but him too. So what I like about, it's a long way to say they're a team.
Yes.
They're not, like Harden and 4 other guys.
Right.
They're a team. And one of the reasons they're a team is they have a hell of a head coach in Steve Kerr who inculcates that, but the superstar accepts it.
Right. And I guess what I like most about it, I don't root for the local teams, but what I like most about this team was it's a shot at Kevin Durant. He came here and it's sort of like invalidated what they had done without him.
I love it.
And he got in that big fight with Draymond. Draymond essentially said, "We can win without you." Durant essentially laughed in his face. Durant left, and they're doing it. They're on the verge of beating the team that swept Durant. And this is going to define Durant's legacy the rest of his life. And it's going to define the Warriors' legacy the rest of their lives. And I think that's wonderful. Wonderful. Not that I'm rooting for the Warriors to win, but forget. A lot of people used to say that Durant was better than Curry. How about now?
Really?
How about now?
Who would you rather have?
Everyone would rather have Curry. And I love that. Like, Curry is really defining his legacy. And he's 2 months younger than me. It feels like my generation, the last stand of my generation against a much younger team that doesn't frankly look like champions to me. They look like they're getting exposed.
I want to come back to Durant for 1 minute. Durant, as great as he is, I'd rather have Draymond Green.
Me too.
This
is a great. I really enjoy watching Draymond Green too, because he doesn't get the credit that Stephen Curry gets. But the team won with defense last night. He's the best defensive player I've ever seen. I didn't watch Bill Russell, but it seems kind of similar. Like with Bill Russell, he didn't score a lot, but his impact, the appreciation for him was that he just always won. And with Draymond, like the Warriors were a good, not great team before he was a starter.
That's right.
They had Clay, they had Steph. They would go to the playoffs and lose. Eventually, as soon as Draymond became a starter, they have been a dynasty. And it's nice to see him still doing his thing.
And again, that's the vision that Steve Kerr has.
One more. The Wiggins story. Oh. So you may not know about Wiggins. He got drafted by Cleveland. All of a sudden, LeBron decides he wants to go back to Cleveland. First, and he's like the GM of the team now. He's taken over. First thing he decides to do is trade Wiggins, who's like 19, for Kevin Love. That was a mistake.
UCLA guy.
Wiggins is pretty good. Like, Wiggins can play defense. Kevin Love can't play. Well, I don't even know what Kevin Love's doing these days, but Kevin Love can't play defense. So Wiggins had to go play for the Timberwolves, which is a terrible organization, and they thought he was a disappointment because he couldn't be LeBron James or whatever. He comes here, he's a role player, and he's great.
He's great.
He's great. He's a hell of a race. So much better than Harrison Barnes was 5 years ago.
You know, yes.
Yes.
He's
Final one.
Yeah.
Gary Payton's kid. Gary Payton II. Guy played like 28 minutes last night, had 3 steals. He's really good on I mean, that's a nice story too. He's almost 30 years old. He's been on a billion different teams, and now he's their best guard off the bench. Gary Payton II. That's pretty cool.
And you know, Gary Payton the senior went to Skyline High School, and Iggy's older brother Brian went to Skyline High School. Not at the same time, but I mean, it's right up the street from us. It's walking distance from where we live.
Yeah, and Gary Payton was one of my favorite players to watch when I was a kid. He was great. So good on defense.
I'll tell you a story about Gary Payton the elder. Yeah. George Karl coached him up in Seattle. No, I'm not going to tell that story.
Okay.
And I was talking. I knew George very well because he coached the Warriors. And he said, you know, my best player is Gary. But he said, it's different coaching in the NBA than other sports. If Gary does something wrong, I can't call him out in front of the team.
Oh.
He said, you know, I have to be very careful, and I'll take him in my office and explain things. And he says, I can't even do that very often. And it wasn't a knock, I don't think, so much on Gary. It's how the NBA is different from other sports.
Yeah, you got to be really careful, because as soon as your best player turns on you, you're out.
That's right.
Yeah, you're out. I think he coached Carmelo Anthony too. Imagine that. That would have been tough, because Carmelo was not.
He also coached Iguodala.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He did, and he once said to me, do you know if Iguodala, because now he was on the Warriors, and he said, do you know if Iguodala liked me? Coach said,
probably not, Coach.
You could hear George saying that, right?
Yes.
And funny. He was like, all those years later, he said, Lowell, do you think Iguodala liked me? And I said, how the hell do I know, right?
We got more Warriors. I got a couple questions we're going to take. Marie says the owners will never approve of no salary cap. Most owners rather compete for money than a ring. Removing the cap would not benefit owners' pockets, and the NFL union is trash. Well, you're probably right, but it seems like the salary cap is just exploding. What's the point of even having it anymore?
Iggy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can't hear me?
I can hear you, but you. Oh, now you're all right. You had frozen on the screen.